I never set out to reinvent my life. I definitely didn't expect everything to shift on a forgettable Tuesday night, the kind that blends into every other dull evening. I was just moving through the hallway, half asleep, barely present. Nothing about it should have mattered. And then I noticed the door not fully closed, just slightly ajar. A thin beam of warm light spilled across the wooden floor, cutting through the darkness like a quiet signal. I stopped without meaning to. Something tightened in my chest, an instinct sharp and unfamiliar. I could have ignored it. I could have kept walking, gone to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and returned to bed like nothing happened. But I didn't. That pause changed everything. The house felt different, heavier somehow, like the air itself had shifted. I stayed frozen, knowing that whatever I chose next wasn't accidental. I leaned in, I looked, and I didn't look away. Before I take you where this night led me, take a quick moment to like this video and subscribe. It genuinely helps these stories reach the people who might need them. And tell me in the comments, are you listening alone in silence or somewhere crowded, trying to carve out a moment of calm? Now back to the hallway. My husband Marcus was away at a conference in the city. The house felt enormous without him, filled with that echoing stillness that only exists when a space is bigger than the people inside it. The only other person home was Julian Marcus' younger cousin. He was 24, a musician, staying in our guest, sweet while working on a composition. Most days, Julian barely registered. He drifted through the house like a shadow, always wearing headphones, always elsewhere. I considered knocking, maybe asking if he needed anything. Maybe I just wanted to hear another human voice. Each step down the corridor felt louder than it should have. As I reached his door, I slowed. Through the narrow opening, I saw him and stopped breathing. Julian was sitting on the floor at the foot of the bed, his back pressed against the mattress. His laptop glowed in front of him, washing his face in pale light, but he wasn't working. He was staring at the screen with an expression so open, so completely undone it hurt to see. He didn't move. He looked carved from grief. At first, I thought it was bad news, a message, a film. Then his shoulders shook. He covered his face with his hands, breaking into silent sobs. The wardrobe mirror caught the laptop's reflection. For a heartbeat, I saw what he was watching, a video of himself. Years younger, laughing with someone I didn't recognize. I hadn't meant to intrude. I hadn't meant to witness something so private. The realization hit me hard, and then he felt. Julian looked up. Our eyes met through the crack in the door. Panic flooded his face. He snapped the laptop shut, his cheeks burning red, desperate to erase what I'd seen. Too late. Something between us shattered the polite distance. Of host and guest, he turned away, wiping his face quickly. I didn't hear you, he said, his voice thick. I couldn't speak. Heat rushed to my face as I stepped back, ashamed. Why hadn't I? Announced myself. Why did I linger? Breathe, Sarah, I whispered, retreating into the dark. Julian was an adult. I was 45, I knew better. Still, that moment, raw and exposed, etched itself into me. I stood there trying to steady my hands. A minute passed, then another. Finally, footsteps. Julian stepped into the hallway, eyes fixed on the floor, fingers tugging at the hem of his shirt. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I thought I closed the door. I shook my head too fast. No, Julian. I should have knocked. I wasn't trying to pry. Silence stretched between us, thick gloated. We shared this house for months. But this was the first time we truly saw each other. I'm just going to get some water, I said, the excuse flimsy even to my own ears. He didn't respond. He just watched me walk away. For days after, we avoided each other. The house became a maze of near misses. If he entered a room, I left. If I appeared, he disappeared. But the silence wasn't empty anymore. It vibrated. Marcus came home, filling the house with loud stories, oblivious to the tension buzzing across the dinner table. Julian and I ate quietly, eyes down, pretending. Nothing had changed. Everything had. That Sunday, rain tapping softly against the windows, Julian found me in the library. He sat across from me, gripping the chair. About the other night, he said, voice unsteady. I don't want things to be awkward. I really respect you, and Marcus really rushed through me. Julian, honestly, I said gently, I've fallen apart over burnt toast in this house. You're human. I shared a self-deprecating story from my 20s. He smiled. The tension eased. Then his expression shifted. I think we're even now, he murmured. What do you mean? He met my eyes. I've noticed you too. When Marcus talks and you drift away, when you sit on the porch staring at the gate for hours, you look lonely, Sarah. My heart slammed. He hadn't caught me in a moment. He'd been seeing me from that day on. Everything changed. We started spending time together, cooking, watching documentaries, sitting too close. Nothing crossed the line, but clear as throat, the air was charged. One night, his hand brushed mine. Neither of us moved. I couldn't sleep after that. Guilt wrestled with something I hadn't felt in years, excitement. I told myself it had to stop. But when I stood outside his door later watching him sleep, I knew the truth. I wasn't checking on him. I was drawn to him. The tension finally broke on a stormy night when Marcus was out. Jillian stood behind me in the kitchen. "You clean when you're trying not to think," he said softly. "I think we're avoiding something," I whispered. "I know, maybe we don't act on it," I said. "Maybe we just admit it." He nodded. "Okay, it's acknowledged." It was terrifying and freeing. We talked about my empty marriage, about his fear of failing, about waiting for permission to live. "You don't need permission," he said. Neither of us did. A week later, he told me he was leaving. That staying would keep us stuck. "You helped me feel again," he said. "But I need to figure myself out." I understood. He kissed the top of my head, brief final. 3 days later, he was gone. The house felt quiet again. But this time, the silence felt open. Possibility replaced weight. Julian hadn't ruined my life. He had shown me where I'd been asleep. That door had cracked open. And this time I walked through.